We continue the global tour here at the Hybrid Cloud Partners podcast. Today, we're going to the Netherlands to talk to a partner that is based there, but also in 11 other locations with over 1,000 customers. I am Fede Pacheco alongside my teammate and friend, Adam Burke. How you doing, Adam?
Hey, Fede, doing great. Looking forward to this discussion here.
For sure. No, I think the reception has been great, and we see so many similarities all over the world. And we're here with Berend today. He's the CEO of Intwo. How are you doing today, Berend?
Yeah, pleased to be here and nice to speak to you guys on the show. My name is Berend-Jan Van Maanen. I am the CEO of this company for the last 11 years. I work out of Amsterdam. For the people who've been here, a great place. And our company, Intwo, has been with Microsoft for a long time.
Yeah, we thank you for that partnership and appreciate every day that it happens. We want to start with a more of a personal question for you. You know, everybody's talking these days about AI and making that a habit in their everyday lives. So whether it's work or personal, how are you using AI?
Yeah, for sure. So in work, of course, we're using it for many clients. But if I were just to speak personally, there's two things that I embed in my life. One quick thing is just that I love that for our core leadership team meetings, we just take notes, we summarize the meetings and action points. And I like it that for me, it becomes easier to do stuff with my core leadership team. And then I can actually distribute it more easily in a concise manner to my extended leadership team without a lot of hassle. So that's the first quick thing. The second quick thing is actually that, I really enjoy that although Amsterdam and the Netherlands is a relatively safe place, I've just recently installed some camera surveillance cameras, so some home protection stuff, and they were really AI enabled. And I like it that you put in the friendly faces and the known faces, and just as a joke, I can tell that my wife is actually not configured yet, so she still shows up as a stranger on the system.
That's awesome. Well, we use it a lot to prepare, obviously, to learn not only about the company that we're going to talk to, but also the person. One thing that I asked Copilot before this conversation was that if I asked you, do you like football or soccer, like they call it in the US?
Yeah, for sure. We lost yesterday to Spain. That's a bit of a painful thing, but we are very proud of our soccer team for sure.
Yeah, no, you got a great team historically. I asked Copilot a more like technical question. I was like, what if I asked this person that I'm about to interview if they would agree that a goalkeeper should or should not be substituted right before they go to penalty kicks and they switch the goalkeeper, would this person agree or not? So what is your take on that? Would you agree that that's a good tactic?
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I would say that I would take it on a case-by-case basis, frankly, that, if the guy was fresh and sharp and he was in a winning mood, I would not change the goalkeeper right before the penalties. But, if I felt he was a little bit tired and I would want to confuse the people who have to kick in the penalty and they don't know what that goalkeeper is going to behave for, then I definitely would. So, I don't know. I would normally not change the goalkeeper, first of all.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. Copilot said you would have a 70% chance of saying you would support it, and you would mention Van Gaal's switch at the 2014 World Cup, where that gave him a pass against Costa Rica, which is awesome. Like, great for the Netherlands. 5 million Costa Ricans, including myself, we were really sad about that substitution, but we respect the tactic. But it literally, I asked it, like, give me a percentage, and they said 70% likely you would mention that tactic. It also said that people in the Netherlands are very innovative when it comes to soccer, but in general. So I think you're the best example of that in Intwo, right?
Thank you. It's true. We love our soccer and we've been at it for a while, changing the tactics of it. Yeah, for sure.
That is fun. It'd be great to get just a little bit of background on Intwo your mission. You mentioned kind of the long partnership with Microsoft. I think for our listeners, just to get a bit of context from you about that.
No, for sure, Adam. So, we summarize our mission in one line, and we call it, it's very aligned with Microsoft. We help businesses achieve more with Microsoft technology. And on the one side, that's a pretty broad thing, but it's literally what we do, because as an outfit of a little bit more than 350 people, we do all the workloads, right? So we're not talking about the one or the other. We really go to a client and we see how do you have to adapt, change, or compete, and what can you do out of the Lego blocks, I always call it, that Microsoft has on offer, and how do we take them in the best way. So I would say we're a global full service cloud provider, really using that technology to help clients forward in a changing world.
That is a great way to put it. We also want to know what we also want to know what your typical customer looks like. However, before I ask you, I want to say I went to your website and you have this awesome picture. I took a screenshot and everything. It for those who are only listening, we'll have to describe it. It's basically one guy with his legs crossed in like a yoga pose, and he has both hands stretched. On one hand, he has a computer. I guess he works and that's his computer, but on the other hand, he has a cup of coffee. And that symbolizes something, right? It says a lot of things, but I'll let you describe why you have that on your website.
No, for sure. I think anybody who's in this IT business for a while knows that IT can be really stressy or frustrating at times. You think, oh my, why am I going to do this? And for sure, giving companies peace of mind that their IT and the stuff we do in the cloud is arranged such that they can have peace of mind and therefore focus on their core business. That's for sure a core denominator of a lot of our clients. That's definitely captured by that image. If you would say and ask just now, Fede, what the typical customer would look like, I'd say it's a mid-market client in one of our 6 specific industries. We believe in some industry specialization. And those typical clients, ideally, or a lot of them are also international by the nature of our company. And we see that those companies between, let's say, 100 million and 5 billion worth of revenues have multiple offers where they produce something or they ship and sell something, either products or services. And those guys, those clients typically need a professional supplier, and sometimes the system integrators are a little bit too large. They work very well with enterprise. And at the same time, they don't want to work with maybe multiple local smaller providers. And that's the typical arena where we play in the mid-market, international businesses in one of our 6 focus industries.
That's great. Yeah. And we see, many partners that I think have been super successful that way, kind of that mid-market space with industry, verticalization is I think a compelling proposition for those customers. Intwo made a significant investment in both Azure and then our cloud solution provider or CSP program, many years ago. How has that decision, impacted your business?
No, that's a little trip back in memory lane, Adam, and it's a great question because we've been at this cloud business for like up to 30 years, and we were basically doing a bunch of cloud when there was no Microsoft Azure, right? And we were really putting HP or Dell servers in a rack. We were putting an operating system and some apps on it for clients back in the day. And when Microsoft started to do hyperscale cloud against the guys like Amazon, and of course the traditional players like all the telcos, we figured out, hey, this is something big. And we already were doing specializations in Microsoft infrastructure. In Microsoft applications, Microsoft Dynamics applications. We were hosting a lot of those. People from that time may, of course, recall maybe a CRM and a Vision and a Xapta predating the current SaaS applications. So we thought something strategic was, hey, we're either going to see this as a threat or we're going to see this as an opportunity. And if you see it as a threat, you should not work with Microsoft. But if you want to work with Microsoft, and we've chosen to do so, I think you got to be all in. So we said, we think that hyperscale will be safer, better economy of scale, and better built-in apps and security than we could do, even as a sizable company around the world. So we made that bet, and we started that, I'm going to say, 7 years ago. And we've just done another one, which is almost the last of the bunch. And then we're really cloud native, basically. So that was the background of that journey.
And we appreciate you sharing that journey and guiding us through, what the decision process was like. As you might imagine, a lot of our listeners are going through that process of going from, the service provider licensing agreement, or SPLA, like we like to call it, to CSP. So if you were to summarize a couple of your biggest lessons of what that brought to your company, what would you say those are?
Right. No, I remember very well that back in the day when there was SPLA licensing, right? It was actually relatively complex. It was a bit of a pain. We had to do the right admin to make sure everything was booked appropriately. There would be like regular audits, and it was complex. And the time and effort it took at that time to both buy, manage, and advise clients about that mechanism was taking a lot of time. And frankly, licenses is not our core business, right? So when CSP came along, we had multiple benefits. We had the benefits that auditing became simpler. We had the benefits that all our clients were getting much more used to a subscription model. So rather than buying one-off license, they would know, hey, I'm taking a subscription. So maybe if I don't need it, I'm going to turn it off. Or if I need more, I'm going to turn it up. And I think it took away some of the anxiety of the cloud. That's for sure the case. And in the end, we also saw that if licenses are simply available for clients in a flexible way, in a way that's transparent, then we don't have to spend a lot of time managing it, administering it. And we can rather really do our own thing, which is consult, migrate, and optimize businesses in the cloud. So for us, it's been a good journey. I would even say in the last couple of years, you see that Microsoft is reducing the number of enterprise agreements and promoting a CSP model more, and particularly in our mid-market space, that pushes some of the clients who used to be on enterprise agreement models to CSP. So the fact we basically said, I'm saying, if you're with Microsoft, then don't fight it, just go straight in there. And in the end, it sort of worked out for us, I would say.
Yeah, CSP is definitely the hero motion, in that mid-market space. So you guys are incredibly well positioned there. I think you alluded to it also in kind of one of your earlier answers, but would love your insights from multiple data center exits. And then one thing specifically, a lot of times when we have conversations, and I think the beauty of this podcast is we have conversations with partners that are kind of in all different phases, right? So, just a couple, weeks or months ago, we had a conversation with a partner that was right at the early stages. Other partners actually smack in the middle of it. But in your case, you're kind of like reaping all the rewards, right? And kind of getting the benefits of that transformation. But what could you speak to around kind of profitability and any impact to profitability? Because I would say, if partners are hesitant, I think their number one concern is that they're going to see an impact in their overall profitability or revenue because they just view that underlying data center is so critical to that.
Yeah, sure. I think there's a couple of angles to that, at least we can share from our experience. So for sure, we had that contemplation. What's it going to do to the margin? And I would say that back in those days, there were serious margins to be made also on on-premise data centers like us. And then at some stage back then, the margins would erode a little bit. Mm-hmm. When we went a little bit further in time, we would see that the gross margins would look better when we had it on our own data center. But if you took out all the effort to pay our staff or engineers to buy servers, install them, maintain them, update them, put in a network, making sure the security was all there, I think the margins were pretty similar. So we think that when we started 7 years ago, it was a little bit of a concern. Is it going to happen? I think now in the last couple of years, we don't see that as much anymore, particularly if you don't have a massive skill in one data center. So I'm going to say if you have like 100 million plus data center business in one place, there's for sure some compelling proposition to keep doing that cloud and have some sort of a hybrid structure. For us, who had not that revenue, but we had it across 10 places in the world and multiple Azure locations, it was much better to follow our international presence because the economy of scale was not there for us, and then the margins weren't so much different. So that's sort of a big thing that was there for us. We said, for us, it's not going to work. We also thought the market is going to go in this direction anyway. If we're not going to do it, 10 others are going to do it. And the competitive play, you may optimize it for a year, but it's not strategic. So we thought we're going to go with Microsoft on that journey. And our margin not necessarily on base cloud infrastructure. We think we're going to evolve because, as I said, our mission is to help businesses do more with cloud technology. And if that cloud infrastructure becomes more of a, dare I say, commodity or a sort of a raw base foundation of it, on top of which you need to do many other things, we don't think we should stay in the past and milk that as long as we could. We thought we'd make that move faster.
Yeah, the doors it opens for building on top of it. So you had that vision. And again, Berend, I'm the marketing guy here from the host side, and I really think this is aligned with what I saw from your Azure specific pitch and your cloud specific pitch. You have, that value for money first and foremost. But second, as you pitch into, why considering the cloud or why considering Azure, you have agility. And that is, critical, going from heavy to light on assets. So could you speak also to agility? Because I know that's something that you really see the benefits in your customers.
No, for sure. So I'll just give you one example, right? Because it's so obvious. We have a client called Cortefiel. They are a Spanish retail chain with 1,000 stores. And I'll tell you what, if there's Black Friday and they used to be on our fixed asset data center, right? Then it was, all staff on deck and it was hard, right? And because if traffic goes up 10 times, it's sort of, what do you do, right? In the classic environment, you have to scale a bunch of stuff. You got to put the iron there. And you got to sort of, and it doesn't work really, right? And so when we moved them to Azure, for sure, it was sort of much, much better because you could scale it up, you could scale it down, and it has a massive impact on everything, right? The business, the personnel have to deal with issues or not. The sheer stress of IT versus people can focus on what retail sales are going to do and how do I manage my shop and my e-commerce. So agility for clients was a big thing. And agility for us as an internal IT provider, similarly, is also a big thing, right? We can go to any markets. We just follow the footprint. If they say, no problem, I want to be in Australia or in Hong Kong or in Singapore or in Australia, we can deploy anywhere close by with local legislation without doing a lot of difficult stuff we would have to do on our own data. And then we would never have been able to follow our clients to where they're going. So also for us, it increases the agility. We're not bound to any more technology platforms. We have to worry about HP and Dell stuff. That whole IaaS, infrastructure as a layer, as a service layer, that complexity is gone for us, right? So it takes that hassle away also from us. And then we can focus on other things where, we really think we can add some value.
I love that because you were like, okay, first and foremost, value for money. We understand, we can provide you a better bang for your buck, like we like to say. Yeah, at the same time, you also claim, hey, peace of mind is priceless. So if you're a business owner and it's the middle of November and your peak sales are going to start in the end of November, like there's no second chance until next year. So you better get it right.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely priceless because that makes or breaks your revenue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I know you've worked closely with a number of colleagues in Microsoft in the Netherlands, throughout your journey, throughout the partnership, and as part of this transition. I know Herman specifically connected us, who I think is a longtime, kind of partner in your business. How have engagements kind of with the DCO team, with the support kind of from a Microsoft partnership, kind of strengthened your overall organization, and any lessons learned or key takeaways from that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I can tell you for sure at the first time we were exiting our first data center, also, we were nervous, right? It's sort of a core service of everything we do, right? We're a hosting company and we're moving our sort of engine away from what we managed ourselves. And we basically outsourced that bit to Microsoft. So it was also exciting and a little bit nervous for us. And I remember very well, we work with people like Herman, we work with people like Rob from the end, and Microsoft. Frankly, of course, it's a big organization. Sometimes it's complex, but for sure, there's a lot of good technical spirit in there. And I do remember that we put the team together. They got to know each other. Both the architect sides worked together. And they also thought it was pretty exciting, frankly. And I'm going to say we moved a couple of hundred workloads from A to B for clients in the first data center, and they did help us throughout the way. Right, there was funding, there was time, there was second and third line support. So in the end, we pulled it off. It's been a good case. There was no fallout, and as a result of that, we basically continued that route. Right, if the first one had not gone well, then it would have been an issue. But no, I think those teams have worked well with us all the way, and there's lots of passion there, and also humility, I would say, right, to work together. So sometimes a big company can be big, but a lot of the individuals are great tech individuals that really support us.
Now we want to go back to AI, the first question we asked you in this conversation, but now, from the business landscape. What are you seeing, especially what is the feedback that you've been getting from your customers?
It's a great, very relevant question because, of course, Microsoft has invested heavily in AI. They are rightly expecting the partner channel to look with it. All our clients want to know about it, right? So I'm going to say it's for sure the single topic that excites C-levels, CFOs, COOs, and CIOs alike within our client set. What we see furthermore is it differs completely by persona, but all of them are both super interested, don't know completely what to do. Some of them do that a little bit. And it's really sort of moving from a lot of them are testing it anyway to what can I do more? And we have many clients that rather than say, I now, for example, in the infrastructure side with data center, I want to talk about lift and shift and about talk all sorts of standard stuff. That seems, of course, it's still there now and then, but that's much, much reduced. So our engagements with clients have moved from these relatively large scale lift, shift, and app modernization moves, where we, refactor and re-architect workloads, into what are you doing? What's your business? How does AI help you? How does AI basically create new ways of working? And from those small use cases, we help those clients with sort of practical things. And on the back of that, they say, "Oh, these are the guys that should help us. Also, take care of my cloud infrastructure, please." But it's the result of true consultancy engagement rather than, "Oh, I already own the infrastructure. Now let's do the AI and data and other items." And for us, that's a big shift too, because sort of we had a lot of people who were dealing with lift and shift and backup. And now we all need to be more consultative as cloud architects, basically. So those are the two big things I'm seeing that affect our business and clients.
And you spoke about, how we love that our partners are also aligned with our vision for AI, but for us, it's even more important that they are aligned with our vision for security. And again, I saw in your value proposition for that you speak not of like necessarily security in a single silo, but like holistic. You call it holistic cloud security. You have, if I were to pitch you, your company has 300 cloud security experts. So I'm glad that we are aligned at that level as well, which is what really makes or breaks or what accelerates or stops any AI project, no matter where it's starting. So just wanted to mention that in case you wanted to add anything specific to security from your perspective.
No, happy to. So if you look at our business lines, right, we have a classic cloud infrastructure, let's say, and we have data AI, and we have biz apps, and we have security. And if you look at the last three, biz apps, security, and data AI, they all grew plus 50%, which is much faster than last year I'm talking about, which is much faster than our cloud infrastructure business, which is maybe like, 10 to 15%. In some markets, it's 20, 25% growth, but much faster growth in all those domains, including security. And it's sort of, if you think about the Gartner hype cycle, maybe AI is really booming there. It's sort of, I don't know if it's inflated expectations or not, or somewhere, but it's for sure in the hype cycle, right? With security, it's so clear, and any C-level I speak to, are you worried about security? Yes. Do you know exactly what issues you've got? No. Would you like to have a quick assessment to assess what your vulnerabilities are? Probably yes, if it's not too much money and time. From there, and now I know what I've got. Oh, actually, those are vulnerabilities I didn't know. Do you want to do managed detection and response or extended detection and response? And those things are super obvious. And it's indeed not just related to cloud infrastructure, because many data points and attack points are based maybe in the ERP or in the modern workplace. So yeah, you got to look at it from a holistic point of view is what we feel. Of course, it goes along with we do all the workloads. So for us, it makes sense to look at security with all the workloads. And it's a very simple thing to explain. And actually, that's interesting because many times there's some really cool tech out there. But if you're unable to explain really cool tech in a simple way to a business persona, then I'm going to take the budget, prioritize amidst many other things. And for security, for us, that's simple and super relevant. So it's one of the things we put a lot of attention to.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's great perspective on there, and yeah, hugely important. If you don't get security right, all of a sudden some of the other things may not matter, or may suddenly be far more expensive to fix that problem. So, yeah, really appreciate your perspective on that. You all have, I would say, done a great job of partnering with us and, kind of being, right there to ahead of the market. If we look back at kind of your investments in CSP or your investments in kind of, becoming cloud, all in kind of from a cloud standpoint, I think those are really kind of benefiting you today. As you look ahead and think about how Intwo evolves over the next, 3 to 5 years, what are your thoughts on in kind of how do you continue to kind of grow and expand? Anything you could share there with us?
Yeah, sure. No, it's actually a great question because we're in the middle of this, and I think in tech you can say it's never boring compared to many other sectors. So, but for sure that's the case for us. So we have just completed in December a management buyout and engaged with a new majority shareholder, private equity held shareholder. So we have access to capital to do stuff. So we're prioritizing those things. What we for sure see that in our business, there is something about scale. How do you get scale to your economic model? If we double the revenues and number of clients, we don't have to double the cost because we have a bunch of stuff in place. So scale works in an economic sense without becoming this super big system integrator, right? There's a lot of room for us to grow from our 350 staff to double without being a huge SI and still hold customer intimacy. So that's first a big thing. So some buy and build is going to happen. We see that data and AI deserves a lot more investment for sure. We see that our security business is growing fast, but it's relatively small. So some investment in that area is clear. We already today, we do some work on industry vertical specialization, which appeals to clients, right? If you're a manufacturer, Adam, that I'm going to say to you, hey, Adam, you're the CFO from this manufacturing mid-market company. We have this particular solution on top of the standard from Microsoft. You're much more likely to resonate with my message than if I wouldn't. So whatever we have there, we intend to strengthen our industry specializations. And I think those are sort of the logical areas for us to work on. Some of it is capability, some of it is strengthening the geography, and some of it is skill. But in the end, it's of course about our mission was how do I help those mid-market businesses do a little bit more? And a lot will change, right? I can't look to 5 to 10 years. I can look to 3, 4 years, 2, 3, 4 years. And those are sort of the bets we are placing.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Thank you for sharing that.
No
I
worries.
really love that we end with this question and just leave on the highest notes of them all. We can't thank you enough for inspiring your peers in the partner community, sharing what your lessons have been, and of course, sharing so much positivity on not only what has happened so well for you, but what's ahead.
You're most welcome, and hopefully see you either in US side or in Amsterdam.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I hope we can make it there soon. And for our listeners, stay tuned. We'll continue our global tour. And if you have any thoughts or questions for us, leave it in the comments in their YouTube channel or reach out to us at dco.microsoft.com. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay tuned for more insights and stories from Microsoft's Data Center Optimization team. Be sure to stay connected at dco.microsoft.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.